Weeks passed since Lisa met Zyra by the lake. She tried to tell her friend Kelly about it, but stopped when she saw the look of concern on Kelly's face. Instead, she kept the experience to herself, treasuring the memory and the dreams that came to her each night. Visions of Xeris world with its 3 suns and floating cities. Lisa found herself looking at the stars more often, spending less time with her books and more time outdoors. She felt changed by her encounter, as if something inside her had awakened a curiosity that could not be satisfied by staying in Pine Ridge one evening. As Lisa sat on her porch watching the sunset, her phone rang. It was the library director asking if she could come in early the next day to help with a special visitor. Lisa agreed and hung up, wondering who would be visiting their small-town library. When Lisa arrived at work the next morning, she found a woman waiting outside the library doors. The woman was tall, with striking features and short, white hair, though she didn't look old, maybe in her 40s. She wore a simple gray suit that somehow looked too perfect, as if it had never been worn before. "Good morning," the woman said as Lisa approached. "I am Dr. Ellen Frost. I'm here to access your local history archives." Lisa unlocked the library doors. Something about Dr. Frost made her uneasy, though she couldn't say why. "Of course," she said, "our archives aren't very extensive, but you're welcome to look through them." Dr. Frost followed Lisa inside. Her movements were precise and measured. She showed no interest in the books around them, focusing only on following Lisa to the small room at the back of the library where they kept old newspapers, photographs, and town records. "What are you researching?" Lisa asked as she unlocked the archive room. Dr. Frost smiled, though the expression didn't reach her eyes. "I'm interested in any unusual events that might have happened in this area, particularly in the last few weeks." Lisa's heart skipped a beat. Did she know about Zero Impossible? Lisa had told no one except her attempted conversation with Kelly, which had gone nowhere. "Is there something specific you're looking for?" Lisa asked, keeping her voice casual. Dr. Frost looked directly at Lisa. Her eyes were pale, almost colorless reports of lights in the sky. Strange visitors, anything out of the ordinary. Lisa busied herself with turning on the lights in the archive room to hide her reaction. "No, nothing like that happens in Pine Ridge," she said. "It's a quiet town." Dr. Frost made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Very quiet places often have the most interesting secrets," she said. Lisa left Dr. Frost in the archive room and returned to the front desk, her mind racing. Could this woman somehow know about Zyra's visit? Who was she really? Throughout the morning, Lisa watched as Dr. Frost methodically went through old newspapers and town records, occasionally taking photos with a small silver device that didn't look like any phone or camera Lisa had seen before. At lunchtime, Lisa decided to learn more. She brought a cup of coffee to Dr. Frost as an excuse to talk. "Have you found anything interesting?" she asked. Dr. Frost looked up from the newspaper she was reading. "Perhaps," she said, "there was a meteor shower reported in this area 3 weeks ago. Did you happen to see it?" 3 weeks ago was exactly when Lisa had met Zyra. No, she lied. "I must have been indoors that night." Dr. Frost studied Lisa's face for a moment too long. "I see," she said, returning to the newspaper. "Thank you for the coffee." Liza went back to the front desk, her hands shaking slightly. Something was very wrong. The way Dr. Frost looked at her made Lisa feel like she was being dissected. She spent the rest of the afternoon helping patrons and trying to avoid looking toward the archive room. Just before closing time, Dr. Frost emerged. She placed a small card on the desk. "If you remember anything about that night, or if you see any unusual lights again, please call me," she said. "It's important." Lisa looked at the card. It simply said Ellen Frost with a phone number. No title, no agency, nothing else. Lisa nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Dr. Frost left and Lisa locked up the library behind her instead of going home. She walked to Kelly's house, needing to talk to someone about what had happened. Kelly listened as Lisa finally told her everything about meeting Zyra, and now about Dr. Frost. When she finished, Kelly looked worried. "Lisa, this sounds crazy," she said. "But I believe you. My cousin works for the government, and she says there are people who investigate this sort of thing. They call themselves researchers, but they're really looking for proof of alien contact. So Dr. Frost might be from the government." Lisa sighed. "Or somewhere else," Kelly replied. "Either way, You need to be careful if Zaira was telling the truth about Earth not being ready for contact. Then people like Dr. Frost are probably why. That night Lisa couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Zaira and Dr. Frost, two visitors from different worlds, each with their own agenda. What did Dr. Frost want? Would she come back? What would happen if Lisa called the number on the cardess? Lisa finally drifted off to sleep. She had a different dream, not of Zaira's world, but of a sterile white room with people in gray suits watching her through glass. She woke with a start, her heart pounding. The next morning, Lisa called in sick to work. She couldn't face the possibility of Dr. Frost returning. She spent the day at home, jumping at every sound outside her house. By evening, she had made a decision. She would go back to the lake where she had met Zaira. If there was any place she might feel safe, it was there. The lake was peaceful in the twilight, the water still, and reflecting the first stars appearing in the sky. Lisa sat on the same fallen log where she had talked with Zaira and looked up at the darkening heavens. "Zaira," she whispered, knowing it was foolish. They found Melissa sat at the lake for hours until the night grew cold. She was about to leave when she noticed something strange about her reflection in the water. It seemed to shimmer and move in a way that didn't match her own movements. She leaned closer and the water began to glow with a soft, blue-green light, the same color as Zaira's craft. The surface of the lake rippled, though there was no wind, and then a form began to rise from the water. It wasn't Zaira, but a sphere of water about the size of a basketball that hovered in the air before Lisa. It glowed from within and seemed to be waiting. Lisa remembered the silver ball that Zaira had used to collect water. Was this something similar? "Hello," Lisa said, feeling slightly foolish. Talking to a ball of water. The sphere pulsed with light, and then a voice that sounded like Zaira's but distorted as if coming through water spoke. "Lisa Clark. You are in danger, Zaira." Lisa gasped. "Is that you?" "Not exactly," the voice replied. "I am a message left for you in case you returned here. Zaira suspected you might be discovered by Dr. Frost." Lisa asked, "How did you know?" "We have encountered her kind before," the voice said. "They seek knowledge not for understanding but for power. You must not trust her." "What should I do?" Lisa asked. The sphere pulsed again. "Listen carefully," the voice said. "Tomorrow night. Return here, bring nothing with you. Tell no one, leave all electronic devices behind. A friend will come for you." "A friend who?" Lisa asked. But the sphere was already sinking back into the lake, the glow fading. "Wait," Lisa called, but the water returned to normal, reflecting only the stars above. Lisa walked home, her mind spinning. Who would come for her tomorrow night? Was it Zaira returning or someone else? And what did she mean by bring nothing? Lisa would have to leave everything behind: her home, her job, her few possessions, her life in Pine Ridges. She approached her house. Lisa noticed a black car parked across the street that hadn't been there before. She kept walking, trying to appear normal, but her heart raced. They were watching her house. Lisa went inside and turned on lights in several rooms to make it look like she was settling in for the evening. Then she packed a small bag with essentials and slipped out the back door through her neighbor's yard. She would stay with Kelly tonight and figure out what to do in the morning. As Lisa hurried through the darkened streets of Pine Ridge, she looked up at the stars, wondering what tomorrow would bring and whether she was ready to leave everything behind for a journey into the unknown. Lisa Clark never expected to meet an alien, but life had a way of surprising her. She lived in a small town called Pine Ridge where nothing exciting ever happened. She worked at the local library and spent her evenings reading books about faraway places and adventures she would never have. One night, as Lisa walked home from work, she saw a strange light in the sky. At first she thought it was a shooting star, but it moved too slowly and seemed to be getting bigger. It glowed with a blue-green light unlike anything she had ever seen before. The light disappeared behind the trees in the distance toward Miller Lake, a quiet spot where Lisa often went to think. She hesitated for a moment, wondering if she should just go home, but curiosity got the better of her, and she changed direction, heading toward the lake. The forest was dark and quiet as Lisa made her way along the familiar path. She could see a faint glow through the trees ahead of her. Heart beat faster as she approached. She pushed aside a branch and gasped at what she saw. A small craft about the size of a car sat at the edge of the lake, steam rising from its surface as if it had been very hot and was now cooling in the night air. It was smooth and oval-shaped with no visible doors or windows. The material looked like metal, but seemed to shimmer and shift colors in the moonlight. Lisa stood frozen, unsure what to do, when suddenly a seam appeared in the side of the craft. It widened into an opening, and a figure stepped out. The alien was tall and slender, with skin the color of midnight blue that seemed to sparkle with tiny points of light like stars. Her eyes were large and silver with no pupils, and she had no hair on her head. Instead, she had what looked like delicate fins or gills that moved gently in the breeze. She wore a simple outfit that seemed to be made of the same shifting material as the craft Lisa wanted to run, but found herself unable to move. The alien looked directly at her, and Lisa felt a strange calm wash over her. "Do not be afraid," the alien said, though her mouth didn't move. The words seemed to form directly in Lisa's mind. "I am not here to harm you. Who are you?" Lisa managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. "I am called Zaira," the alien replied. "I come from a world very far from yours." "What do you want?" Lisa asked. "Water," Zaira said, gesturing to the lake. "I need to replenish my ship's cooling system, and your planet has an abundance of it." Lisa looked at the lake, then back at Zaira. "I guess that would be okay," she said, not sure if the alien needed permission, but feeling like she should offer it anyway. Zaira made a sound that might have been laughter. "It is kind of you to grant permission for something that belongs to no one," she said. "But I appreciate your hospitality." Lisa watched as Zaira took out a device that looked like a small silver ball. She placed it at the edge of the lake, and it began to glow. The water near it started to flow upward, defying gravity, and formed a stream that moved through the air into the craft. "While this happens, would you talk with me?" Zaira asked. "I have traveled far and have spoken to no one for many cycles." "Cycles?" Lisa repeated. "What you might call years," Zaira explained. Lisa nodded and sat down on a fallen log a safe distance from the alien. She had so many questions she didn't know where to start. "Is this your first time on Earth?" she asked. "Finally, yes." Zaira said, "I am what you might call an explorer. I travel to different worlds to learn and observe their many worlds with life like Earth." Lisa asked, "More than you can imagine?" Zaira replied, "Some with beings similar to humans. Others with life forms you could not comprehend, but all unique and beautiful in their own way." "Why, haven't we met aliens before?" Lisa asked. "If there are so many out there." Zaira tilted her head. The motion reminded Lisa of a curious bird. "Some worlds are not yet ready for contact," she said. "My people believe in allowing each world to develop at its own pace until it reaches a certain level of understanding. And has Earth reached that level?" Lisa asked. Zaira was quiet for a moment. "Not as a whole," she said finally. "But individuals like you. Some humans are ready to know. They are not alone in the universe." Elisa felt a strange mix of pride and fear at being chosen for this encounter. "Why me?" she asked. "I'm nobody special." Zaira moved closer, and Lisa could see patterns on her skin shifting like constellations in the night sky. "You are wrong," she said. "Every being is unique and special in the vastness of the universe. The chances of your existence exactly as you are were incredibly small. Yet here you sit, a miracle of biology and consciousness." Lisa had never thought of herself that way before. "Your curiosity brought you here," Zaira continued. "When others might have run or looked away, that curiosity, that desire to know more, to understand, that is what will eventually bring your species to the stars." The water continued to flow into the craft, creating a beautiful arc in the moonlight. "What is your world like?" Lisa asked. "It is very different from Earth." Zaira said, "We have 3 suns, so there is rarely darkness. Our oceans are deep and cover most of our planet. We live in floating cities that move with the currents." Lisa tried to imagine such a place. It sounded both wonderful and terrifying. "Do you have families?" she asked. "Yes," Zaira said. "Though not like yours. Our young are raised by the community together. We form bonds throughout our lives, some temporary, some lasting, but we value connection above all else." The water stream began to slow and then stopped. The silver ball glowed brighter for a moment, then dimmed. "I must go soon," Zaira said. "The task is complete." Lisa felt a surprising sadness at the thought. "Will you come back?" she asked. "Perhaps," Zaira said. "I cannot say for certain. My journey takes me far and wide, but I will remember you." Lisa was startled. I never told you my name. Syra made that laughing sound again when we connected mentally. I learned many things about you as you did about me. You simply have not realized it yet. Lisa frowned, trying to understand what the alien meant. Time you will remember, Syra said. She reached out a hand toward Lisa, who hesitated, then extended her own. Their fingers touched, and Lisa felt a tingling sensation travel up her arm and spread throughout her body. A gift, Zyra said, a memory of my world that you can visit in your dreams. Syra turned and walked back to her craft with fluid, graceful movements. As she reached the opening, she looked back one last time. May your curious spirit never dim, Lisa Clark. The opening sealed shut, and the craft began to hum softly. It rose slowly at first, then faster until it was just a point of blue-green light in the night sky, and then it was gone. Lisa sat by the lake for a long time after trying to process what had happened. Part of her wondered if she had imagined it all. But when she touched her fingers where Zyra had touched them, they still tingled with a strange energy. Finally, she stood up and began walking home. The night seemed different somehow, as if the world had expanded beyond what she had known before. As she reached her small house, Lisa looked up at the stars, wondering which one might be Zyra's home. She went inside, and for the first time in her life, the books on her shelf seemed less appealing than before. She had experienced something no book could capture. That night, as Lisa drifted off to sleep, she began to see images of a world with 3 suns and vast oceans, with cities that floated like jewels on the water. She smiled, knowing that somewhere out there among the countless stars, Zyra was continuing her journey, perhaps telling others about the human she had met by a lake on a small blue planet called Earth. Kelly was surprised to see Lisa at her door so late at night, especially with a packed bag, but she let her friend in without question after Lisa explained what had happened at the lake. Kelly looked both frightened and excited. You realize this is crazy, right? Kelly said as they sat in her kitchen drinking tea. Meeting an alien message sphere at the lake, secret government agents watching your house. It sounds like a movie, I know, Lisa said, but it's real, and I have to decide by tomorrow night whether to go or stay. Go where? Kelly asked. We don't even know who this friend is that the message mentioned. Lisa stared into her tea, the warmth of the cup comforting in her hands. I think it's someone. Zyra sent someone who can take me away from here. Before Dr. Frost and her people find me. Kelly reached across the table and took Lisa's hand. Are you sure about this? What if it's a trap? What if Dr. Frost set it up somehow? Isa shook her head. Dr. Frost wouldn't need to trick me. She could just take me. If she wanted to. This is something else. I can feel it. It's connected to Zyra. They talked late into the night, weighing options and possibilities, Kelly trying to convince Lisa to be cautious. Lisa trying to explain the certainty she felt, finally exhausted. They went to sleep, Lisa on Kelly's couch, her mind too full for rest in the morning. They looked out Kelly's window and saw the same black car now parked across from Kelly's house. They were following Lisa. We need a plan, Kelly said. If you're really going to do this, you can't just walk to the lake. They'll follow you. Lisa thought for a moment. I have an idea, she said. They spent the day preparing. Kelly called in sick to her job at the local diner, and they stayed inside watching the black car occasionally. Changed drivers but never leaving. As evening approached, Lisa put her plan into action. Kelly, dressed in clothes similar to Lisa's and wearing a hat to hide her face, slipped out the back door of her house. She walked quickly, but not running, toward the grocery store on the opposite side of town from the lake. From the window, Lisa watched as the black car pulled away, following Kelly. She waited 20 minutes to be sure they wouldn't return, then left Kelly's house herself, taking a roundabout path through backyards and wooded areas, avoiding main streets. The sun was setting as Lisa reached Miller Lake, painting the water gold and orange. She sat on the fallen log and waited, her heart pounding with anticipation and fear. Darkness fell. The stars came out, and still Lisa waited. She checked her watch. It was nearly midnight. Had she misunderstood the message? Had Kelly been caught? Was this all a terrible mistake? Then she heard it. A soft humming sound coming from above. Lisa looked up but saw nothing. The sound grew louder, and she felt a breeze on her face, though the trees around her were still. Suddenly the air in front of Lisa seemed to tear open like fabric being ripped apart, revealing a glowing doorway of light. Lisa stood up, backing away slightly as a figure stepped through. It wasn't Zyra, but another alien similar in appearance but shorter, with skin that was more green than blue. its large silver eyes fixed on Lisa Clark. The alien said in a voice that sounded like, "Wind chimes, I am now sent by Xyra to bring you to safety, will you come?" Lisa looked at the glowing doorway. Where did it lead? Was she really going to step through into the unknown? "Where are we going?" she asked. "To a safe place." Nari replied, "Not Xyra's world, but another where humans and other species live together, a way station of sorts. Will I ever come back?" Lisa asked, thinking of the life she was leaving behind. "That will be your choice," Nari said. "But now we must hurry. The pathway cannot stay open long, and those who seek you are coming." If on cue, Lisa heard cars in the distance and saw flashlight beams moving through the trees toward the lake. Dr. Frost and her people had found her. Lisa took a deep breath. "I am ready," she said. Nari held out a hand. Lisa took it, feeling the same tingling sensation she had felt when touching Xyra together. They stepped through the glowing doorway. Lisa expected to feel something dramatic as she passed through, but it was like walking through a curtain of warm water. One moment she was in the forest by Miller Lake. The next she was somewhere else entirely. They stood in a vast circular room with walls that seemed to be made of living crystal. They pulsed with soft light, in colors Lisa had never seen before. The floor beneath her feet felt solid but looked like flowing liquid. Lisa felt dizzy trying to make sense of what she was seeing. "Welcome to the Nexus," Nari said, releasing Lisa's hand. "This is a junction point between worlds, a place where travelers rest and prepare for longer journeys." Lisa turned in a slow circle, taking in the impossible architecture and the beings that moved about the room. Creatures of all shapes and sizes, some vaguely humanoid, others completely alien, all going about their business as if there was nothing unusual about their gathering. "How is this possible?" Lisa asked, her voice hushed with awe. Nari made a gesture that might have been a shrug. "There are spaces between worlds," Nari explained, "pathways that connect distant points in what you would call space. This nexus exists in one such space." A tall being with 4 arms approached them. It wore what looked like a uniform and spoke to Nari in a language of clicks and whistles. Nari responded in kind, then turned to Lisa. "You must be processed as a visitor." Nari explained, "It is the protocol for new arrivals. They will scan. You create an identity marker and assign quarters." Lisa followed Nari and the 4-armed being to a small alcove where she stood still while beams of colored light passed over her body. It was over in seconds, and the 4-armed being handed her a small crystal that glowed with a soft, blue light. "Your identity marker," Nari explained. "Keep it with you at all times. It will help you navigate the Nexus, open doors meant for you, and translate languages you encounter." Lisa held the crystal, feeling it warm to her touch. "This is incredible," she said. "All of this exists and humans have no idea." "Some humans know," Nari corrected. "There are many who have passed through the Nexus over your planet's history. Most choose to stay in the wider universe once they see what it offers. But some return to Earth as guides or observers, like Xyra." Lisa asked. Nari made a sound that Lisa interpreted as amusement. "Xyra is an explorer." "Yes, but she was not supposed to make contact with you. Her ship truly did malfunction, but her decision to speak with you was her own choice, one that has caused quite a stir among the Nexus authorities." "Is she in trouble?" Lisa asked, feeling concerned for the alien who had changed her life. Nari led Lisa through corridors of the same living crystal, passing beings of countless varieties. Lisa tried not to stare, but it was impossible not to look at the diversity of life forms around her. "Xyra broke protocol," Nari said, "but her actions have been deemed understandable. Given the circumstances, she has been assigned to other duties for now." They stopped before a door that slid open as Lisa approached, revealing a small but comfortable room with furnishings that seemed designed to accommodate human needs. "These will be your quarters," Nari said. "You should rest. The translation function of your marker will need time to fully integrate with your nervous system. You may experience unusual dreams." "This is normal." Lisa entered the room, still trying to process everything that had happened in the last 24 hours. It all seemed impossible. Yet here she was. "Will I see Xyra?" Lisa asked. Nari hesitated, perhaps in time. "First, you must learn about the Nexus, understand its purpose and rules. There is an orientation for new arrivals that begins after the rest cycle. I will come for you then." With that, Nari left, the door sliding closed behind him. Lisa sat on what appeared to be a bed, though it adjusted to her body in a way no Earth mattress ever had. She took the glowing crystal from her pocket and studied it. This small object was her new identity. In this place, Lisa lay back on the bed, exhaustion suddenly overwhelming. She closed her eyes and tried to make sense of her new reality. She had left everything behind: her job, her home, her entire world, to step into something unknown and vast beyond imagining as sleep claimed her. Lisa wondered what Kelly would think when she learned Lisa had disappeared, wondered if Dr. Frost would keep searching for her, wondered what her parents would be told when their daughter vanished without a trace. But mixed with these worries was a sense of wonder and excitement. She was perhaps the first human to see the Nexus, the first to learn that Earth was just one small world among countless others, connected by pathways between the stars. Tomorrow she would begin to learn about this new reality. Tonight, she would dream of crystal corridors and beings with silver eyes who traveled between worlds as easily as she had once walked between bookshelves at her small town library. Lisa woke to the sound of soft chimes filling her room at the Nexus. For a moment, she was disoriented, expecting to see her bedroom in Pine Ridge. Then memory returned. She was in another realm entirely, a junction between worlds. She sat up and noticed that while she had slept, her bag had been replaced with new clothing items that looked similar to her own, but were made of materials she had never seen before. They felt incredibly soft, yet somehow strong, as if they would never tear or wear out. A voice spoke from nowhere. "This is your first wake cycle notification. Please prepare for orientation in one time." Unit. Lisa looked around for the source of the voice, but saw nothing. "How long is a time unit?" she asked aloud. The voice responded immediately. "Approximately 40 of your Earth minutes," Lisa thanked the voice, feeling slightly foolish for talking to empty air. She dressed in the new clothes, which fit perfectly, and examined her quarters in the daylight, or whatever passed for daylight in this place. The room was simple but elegant, with surfaces that seemed to flow into one another without seams. The walls glowed with soft light that adjusted to her movements, keeping the space perfectly lit. No matter where she stood, a door led to a small washing area with fixtures she couldn't begin to understand. She touched her identity marker, the small crystal Nari had given her, and immediately information flowed into her mind, showing her how to use the washing fixtures. They responded to thought and touch, working in ways that seemed magical yet felt natural once she understood them. When Lisa was ready, the door to her quarters slid open, revealing Nari waiting in the corridor. "Did you rest well?" Nari asked. Lisa replied, "Though I had strange dreams. That is the marker integrating." Nari explained, "It connects to your neural pathways to facilitate translation and information transfer. The dreams are a side effect that will fade in time." Nari led Lisa through the crystal corridors of the Nexus. The space is much busier than they had been when she arrived. Beings of all descriptions moved with purpose, some nodding to Nari or looking curiously at Lisawe. "Have a small group for orientation today." Nari said, "Only 3 new arrivals, including yourself. That is unusual. The Nexus typically processes dozens of new visitors each cycle. Who are the others?" Lisa asked. "You will meet them soon," Nari replied. "One is from a water world very different from Earth. The other is from a place not unlike your own, though more technologically advanced." They entered a circular room where 2 beings waited. One was humanoid with pale green skin and delicate features that reminded Lisa of plants. The other was like nothing Lisa had seen before, a swirling mass of tentacles and eyes floating in a container of cloudy liquid. "These are your orientation companions." Nari introduced the plant-like being as Zephyr from the Harmony Spheres. "And this is Bubble." That is the closest translation of their name from the depths of Illyria. Zephyr nodded in greeting while Bubble pulsed with lights that Lisa somehow understood as a hello. Lisa felt suddenly self-conscious, aware that she must seem as strange to them as they did to her. Lisa, she said, "From Earth." Zephyr said, the voice melodic and gentle. "I have heard it is a world of great beauty and terrible contradiction." Bubble pulsed with more lights that translated in Lisa's mind as a question about water. "Yes," Lisa said, responding to the unspoken query. "Earth has vast oceans and many lakes and rivers." Bubble seemed pleased with this answer, its colors shifting to warm hues. "Now that introductions are complete," Nari said, Let us begin your orientation to the Nexus. What followed was the strangest school day of Lisa's life. Nari showed them how to use their identity markers to access information about the Nexus, its history, and purpose. They learned about the Council of Worlds that governed the junction point and the rules that all visitors and residents must follow. Lisa discovered that the Nexus had existed for thousands of years, created by an ancient species that had long since evolved beyond physical form. It served as a neutral meeting ground for hundreds of different worlds, a place of commerce, cultural exchange, and diplomacy, as well as a way station for travelers, Nari explained. Not all worlds have the technology to move directly between stars. The Nexus provides pathways that connect distant points, allowing species that might never meet otherwise to interact during a break in their orientation. Lisa spoke with Zephyr while Bubble floated nearby. "How did you come to the Nexus?" Lisa asked. Zephyr smiled, a gesture that looked almost human, except for the way small flowers seemed to bloom and fade on their skin when they expressed emotion. "I was selected as an ambassador for my world." Zephyr said the Harmony Spheres have been part of the Nexus network for generations. "And you, Bubble?" Lisa asked. Looking at the floating tentacled being, Bubble's lights pulsed, and through her marker, Lisa understood that they had come seeking medical treatment for an illness that could not be treated on their ocean world. The Nexus had healers with knowledge from hundreds of worlds. "What about you?" Zephyr asked. "Why has Earth sent you when I understood your world was not yet part of the network?" Lisa explained about meeting Zyra and later fleeing from Dr. Frost. "I didn't exactly come as a representative," she finished. "More of a refugee." Zephyr looked troubled. "That is unusual. The Nexus has strict protocols about contact with developing worlds." Before Lisa could respond, Nari returned to continue their orientation. In the afternoon, they toured different sections of the Nexus. Lisa was amazed by the variety of environments maintained for different species: areas of extreme heat or cold chambers filled with exotic gases, gardens of plants from 100 worlds, and even a vast water tank where beings like Bubble could swim freely. Everywhere they went, Lisa's marker translated languages and provided context for what she was seeing. She learned that the Nexus was not just a single station, but a vast complex, with different levels and sections, some restricted to certain species or those with special clearances. The orientation continued. Lisa found herself growing overwhelmed by the scale of it all, and the implications of what she was learning. Earth was not just one planet among many, but a relatively young world whose people knew almost nothing of the greater universe around them. At the end of the day, Nari took the three of them to what appeared to be a dining area, though calling it that seemed inadequate given the variety of consumption methods Lisa observed around her. "You may select nourishment appropriate for your species." Nari said, "Your markers will guide you." Lisa followed the subtle promptings of her crystal to a section where the food looked somewhat familiar. At least in concept, there were things that resembled fruits and vegetables, though in color she had never associated with food before, and what might have been meat, though she didn't want to think about what kind of animal it might have come from. Selected items that her marker indicated were safe for human consumption, and joined Zephyr at a table. Bubble hovered nearby, consuming something through their tentacles directly from their containment vessel. The food was strange, but not unpleasant, some flavors reminiscent of Earth cuisine. Others completely new. Lisa's marker helped her understand the nutritional value of each item, ensuring she chose a balanced meal as they ate. Zephyr asked Lisa more about Earth, and she found herself trying to explain concepts like nations, money, and religion to someone who had no frame of reference for them. "Your world sounds fascinating," Zephyr said, "but also primitive." "Forgive me if that seems rude." Lisa shook her head. "I think you're right. Compared to all this, Earth must seem very backward." "Not backward," Bubble pulsed, "just young. All worlds begin somewhere." After the meal, Nari returned and informed them that orientation would continue the next day. For now, they were free to rest or explore designated areas of the Nexus. As Nari led Lisa back to her quarters, she gathered her courage to ask the question that had been on her mind all day. "Will I see Zyra?" Soon Nari was quiet for a moment. "Zyra has been called before the council regarding her contact with you. The decision about whether you will be allowed to meet must wait until they have concluded their review." Lisa felt a pang of guilt. Had she gotten Zyra in serious trouble by coming to the Nexus? Is there anything I can do to help her? She asked. Maintain the protocols, Nari advised. Learn what is expected of visitors. Do not draw attention to yourself. The council values order and adherence to rules. When they reached Lisa's quarters, Nari paused. Rest. Well, tomorrow you will learn more, including what options may be available for your future options, Lisa repeated. Yes, Nari said after orientation. New arrivals must choose a path. Some stay at the Nexus. Others continue to other worlds. Some in rare cases return to their homes. But that decision need not be made immediately. With that, Nari left Lisa alone with her thoughts. She sat on her bed holding the crystal marker in her hand, thinking about the incredible day she had experienced and the decision that lay ahead of her stay at the Nexus. Go to another world entirely or return to Earth knowing what she now knew about the universe. Lisa wasn't sure she could ever be satisfied with her old life in Pine Ridge, yet the thought of never seeing her home again filled her with sadness as Lisa prepared for sleep. She looked out her small window at the strange star patterns visible from the Nexus. Somewhere out there was Earth, tiny and isolated, but still her home, and somewhere else was Zyrus World, and countless others she might one day visit. The universe had suddenly become so much larger than she had ever imagined, and her place in it so much less certain. Lisa's second day of orientation began with more detailed instruction on Nexus protocols and history. Nari showed them the central database, a vast collection of knowledge from hundreds of worlds that visitors could access through their markers. This is one of the greatest treasures of the Nexus. Nari explained, a repository of information freely shared between worlds. Lisa accessed the database through her crystal and was overwhelmed by the amount of information available. Scientific discoveries, cultural records, historical accounts from civilizations thousands of years old. She could spend lifetimes just scratching the surface. After the database tour, Nari took them to observe a council meeting where representatives from different worlds discussed matters of trade, resource sharing, and diplomatic concerns. Lisa was fascinated by the variety of beings and the complex interplay of different cultural approaches to problem solving. During a break, Zephyr approached Lisa. You seem troubled. The plant-like being said, small flowers blooming along their arms. A sign of concern, Lisa sighed. I keep thinking about my friend Kelly back on Earth and my parents. They must be worried about me. I disappeared without explanation. Zephyr nodded. In understanding on my world, we believe that connections between beings are like roots that stretch across distance. They remain even when we cannot see them. That's a beautiful thought, Lisa said. But it doesn't help them know I'm safe. Perhaps there is a way. Zephyr suggested many worlds maintain observers on developing planets like yours. Maybe a message could be passed. Before Lisa could respond, Nari called them to continue the orientation. In the afternoon, they visited the transport hub where pathways to different worlds opened and closed in carefully controlled sequences. Lisa watched as beings departed through shimmering portals to destinations she could barely imagine. The Nexus connects to over 300 worlds. At this time, Nari explained, though not all connections are active simultaneously. Some pathways open only at specific intervals or under certain conditions, as they observe the comings and goings. Lisa noticed a group of beings in what appeared to be uniforms. They moved with purpose, checking markers and occasionally directing travelers. Security enforcers, Nari said, following Lisa's gaze. They ensure protocols are followed and respond to any disturbances. One of the enforcers looked in their direction, and Lisa felt a chill when its gaze landed on her. The being was tall, with gray skin and multiple small eyes arranged around a central core. It seemed to study her with particular interest before moving on. Nari also noticed the enforcer and quickly led the orientation group away. After the transport hub, they visited gardens where plants from hundreds of worlds grew together in carefully maintained environments. The beauty of it took Lisa's breath away. Flowers that glowed in pulsing patterns, trees with crystal leaves that chimed in the slightest breeze, fruits that changed color as they watched. This is my favorite place, Zephyr said, clearly at home among the plant life. I come here whenever I can. Bubble pulsed with lights that translated as appreciation, though the gardens were clearly not their natural environment. As they walked through the gardens, Lisa noticed the same enforcer from earlier, watching them from a distance. She pointed this out to Nari, who looked concerned. It is unusual, Nari admitted. Security rarely takes interest in orientation groups unless there is a specific concern. Do you think it's because of me? Lisa asked, remembering what Nari had said about Zyra being in trouble for contacting her. Perhaps Nari said, "Let us continue with the orientation. We should not draw further attention." They moved to another section of the gardens, but Lisa could feel eyes on her, making her increasingly uncomfortable. The final stop of the day was the assignment center, where new arrivals received their permanent or temporary placements within the Nexus network. Zephyr was given quarters in the diplomatic section and assigned as a junior cultural liaison between their world and others, seeking trade agreements. Their joy was evident in the cascade of brightly colored flowers that bloomed across their skin bubble. Received approval for the medical treatment they sought, and was assigned temporary quarters in the aquatic section until their treatment was complete. When it came to Lisa's turn, the Nexus official, a being with features so neutral they could have belonged to any species, consulted a display that Lisa could not read. "There seems to be a notation on your file," the official said. "Your case requires special consideration." "What does that mean?" Lisa asked. The official looked to Nari, who stepped forward. "Lisa Clark is an unscheduled arrival from a protected world." Nari explained her status is pending council review. The official nodded. "I see. In that case, temporary quarters will be maintained until the council reaches a decision." As they left the assignment center, Lisa turned to Nari. "What happens now?" she asked. "You wait." Nari said, "It is uncommon but not unprecedented for arrivals from protected worlds. The council must determine if your presence here violates existing agreements with observer teams on your world, and if it does." Nari hesitated. "Then memory adjustment and return is the usual protocol." Lisa stopped walking. "Memory adjustment? You mean they would make me forget everything? The Nexus, Zyra, all of it. It is considered the least disruptive solution." Nari said, "For both you and your world." Lisa felt sick at the thought of losing the wonders she had experienced these past few days, having everything taken away and being returned to Pine Ridge with no memory of what lay beyond Earth. "There must be another option," she said. Nari looked uncomfortable. "There are alternatives, but they are rarely granted. You could request asylum, claiming that return would place you in danger, or you could petition for probationary status as a student of Nexus cultures. But both require council approval." Before Lisa could respond, a group of enforcers approached, led by the same gray being that had been watching them. The enforcer presented a glowing symbol to Nari, who examined it and nodded reluctantly. "What is happening?" Lisa asked as the enforcers surrounded her. "You are being called to provide testimony to the council regarding Zyra of Nixara." Nari explained, "These enforcers will escort you." The gray enforcer spoke, its voice like stones grinding together. "You will come with us now." Lisa looked at Nari, who nodded reassuringly. "Do not be afraid. The council seeks information. Only answer truthfully and respect the protocols." The enforcers led Lisa away from Nari through corridors she had not seen before. They moved quickly, giving her little time to observe her surroundings. Finally, they arrived at a large door that slid open to reveal a circular chamber. Council chamber was arranged in tiers with beings of various forms seated around the perimeter. A single platform stood in the center, where Lisa was directed to stand. The enforcers took positions at the exits. A being with features that reminded Lisa of an owl, though with iridescent feathers and 6 eyes, addressed her. "Lisa Clark of Earth, you have been summoned to provide testimony regarding your encounter with Azira of Nixara and the circumstances that led to your arrival at the Nexusi." "Understand," Lisa said, her voice steadier than she felt. Another council member, this one appearing as a column of swirling mist, spoke. "Your world, Earth, is classified as protected under Nexus Directive 7. Contact is prohibited, except through approved observer channels, yet Zyra initiated direct communication with you." Explain the nature of this contact. Lisa described meeting Zyra by the lake, how the alien had needed water for her ship, and how they had talked. She explained about the gift of dreams Zyra had given her, and later the message in the water that had warned her about Dr. Frost. When she mentioned Dr. Frost, several council members conferred among themselves, the owl-like being turned back to Lisa. "This human Dr. Frost, describe her in detail." Lisa explained about Dr. Frost's visit to the library, her questions about lights in the sky, and her surveillance of Lisa's home. third council member with multiple limbs and a face like polished stone. Spoke. There are several factions on your world aware of extrasolar civilizations. Some seek knowledge for protection, others for advantage. It seems this Dr. Frost represents one such faction. Is that why Xyra warned me about her? Lisa asked before any could answer. The chamber door opened, and a familiar figure entered. Xyra moved gracefully to stand beside Lisa on the central platform, her midnight blue skin sparkling with points of light. I can answer that question, Xyra said. I have been monitoring Earth Observer reports for some time. Certain human organizations have become aware of Nexus pathways. They lack the technology to create their own, but they actively search for evidence of their existence. The human known as Frost belongs to one such group. The council seemed displeased by Xyra's interruption, but allowed her to continue. I did not intend to make contact with Lisa Clark. Xyra said, my ship genuinely malfunctioned, requiring water for coolant systems. But once contact occurred, I recognized her potential, her curiosity, her openness to new ideas, traits valued across many worlds. I made a judgment that she would be at risk if discovered by Frost's organization. The owl being spoke. That was not your judgment to make. Protocols exist for a reason. I accept responsibility for my actions, Xyra replied. But I maintain that Lisa Clark deserves consideration for Nexus citizenship. Her world will join the network eventually, perhaps sooner than the Council has predicted. She represents the best qualities of her species. The Council members conferred among themselves, speaking in languages Lisa's marker could not fully translate. Finally, the owl being addressed them again.